Hey everyone, welcome back to the Genuine Life Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Nicole, but you, of course, can call me Jen. And in today's episode, I'm dishing all the tea on what I do to personally stay calm in chaotic situations. And I'm hoping that after today's episode, you're going to walk away feeling so empowered, so alive, and encouraged to maintain your peace and your joy. So go ahead and grab a snack, a beverage, and get cozy. We're jumping right into today's episode. Welcome to the Genuine Life. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to episode 44 of the Genuine Life podcast. Again, I'm your host, Jennifer Nicole, and so happy to see you. I'm happy that you're here and just for tuning in and supporting me. And just really appreciate y'all because the last episode that I rolled out, episode 43, which was like my comeback episode after not sharing an episode with you in over a year. I think it was almost a year. It just felt so good to feel all of the love. And then I left you hanging. I kind of abandoned you after a week. And so I am back on schedule. And hopefully I'll be able to share with you why I had to miss a week. But I don't think you'll be upset with me. And just know that that won't happen again. I'm back and focused and ready. And that's actually why I wanted to talk to you about today's topic. Because last week was crazy. It was chaotic. I was overwhelmed. It was a time. Okay. I was over it. I couldn't wait to just let the week go and start fresh. And it made me start to think, because I ended up having an encounter with someone who actually gave me a compliment saying how nice I was and how my energy was so infectious. And in my head, I'm like, if you had seen me 5 minutes before, you would not be saying this right now. And so two things came to mind. I was so grateful that I didn't look like what I had been through that day. But I also said, I need to congratulate myself for being able to get through the fussiness of the day, but to also proceed on, right? Taking one step at a time and remaining calm and understanding that everything is going to work itself out in the long run, like it always does. So why am I getting myself in a tizzy? And so that's why I was like, let me come up with an episode that hopefully you will find helpful as well. For those of you that are new to the Genuine Life podcast, I've made it's never been a secret that I've suffered with depression and anxiety, insomnia as well, and imposter syndrome, overthinking. I mean, just everything that you can think of. I probably have gone through it, okay? And so at one point I was on medications and they just kept adding on new ones. The first medication they gave me was for depression. It was supposed to also help curb cravings, sweets cravings as well. So it was somewhat of a weight loss medication. So it started with that. But then it made me very flat. I had no feelings. I didn't really care about anything. I was just very dry. And I didn't like it. I felt like I had no emotions. So I was like, I don't like this pill. So they ended up giving me something else that was going to perk me up a little bit and make me more energetic and happier. But then I wasn't sleeping. It had me up all night long. I was so wired and just all over the place. And so then they tacked on a third pill to tackle on the energy. And this was supposed to help me fall asleep. And so it was an insomnia medication. I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be drugged up. I didn't like the fact that I had to depend on these medications. Now, let me be very clear, okay? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I just share my personal experiences with you all. In episodes prior, I have shared that I still support medication. It just didn't work out for me at that time in my life. Will I revisit meds? Absolutely. If I feel like I need them, or if I'm getting to a place where I what I'm doing isn't helping, I absolutely would go back. So I don't want what I'm taking for you to say, well, if she's not doing it, then maybe I need to come off. No, you need to do whatever's best for you. At the time, I just didn't like that. I felt like they just kept giving me more and more meds. And I needed to get to the root of the problem as to why I had even gotten to this place in the first place. So I did start going a more holistic route, which are some things that I'm going to be sharing with you today. I have also mentioned in some podcast episodes, if you've picked up on it, that I also take adult gummies. Hint, hint. I'm very 420 friendly. And so for me, it has been super helpful with just some anxietal type of things, and also sleeping. I sleep very well. So this is not something that I do like all the time. It's definitely like right before bed, or just to relax. And I'm a gummy girl, so I love some gummies, which we'll talk about today. But yeah, that's my story. So we're gonna jump right into it. Just wanted to kind of give you some background information if you are new to the show, and a refresher if you're an OG. But my very first tip for you is to practice mindfulness and meditation. Now, I know for me personally, when I hear the word meditation, I always had this idea that I needed to be like in a yoga studio, or, through the day, or just sitting cross-legged and just in this very peaceful state. But once I had a really insightful conversation with a friend of mine. His name is Sean. Hey, Sean, if you're listening. But I was asking him about meditation and just how I always feel like my thoughts tend to go every which way. And he explained to me to just let them go. But my main focus should be my breath, and that I should be focused on nice deep inhales, holding, and breathing out. And the more I focused on my Lord, the more I focused on my breath, the less I noticed the noise around me. And so I started practicing it everywhere. I remember a time at Google, I was overwhelmed that day. I was like so tired. Oh gosh, y'all, Google started talking. Sorry if you hear it. I was so overwhelmed. It was a day, right? I just felt like I couldn't handle another thing. And we used to have these nap rooms. So I would step into the nap room and I just sat there in silence and I just breathed. I think I was in there for about 10 or 15 minutes. And y'all, I can't explain it. I walked out of there and I just felt like, okay, I'm good. I can do this. I am back to earth. The thoughts are now under control. They're not running east, west, north, and south any longer. And I'm focused on what I need to do in the moment. I'm going to write everything out and I'm going to get focused. And that is what meditation has been for me. Now, I did start out with guided meditations to help me just start to understand what I was doing. And I did all of that through Calm. Now, I know you've heard of Calm. There's another one called Headspace. I personally lean more towards Calm because they also have an element for sleep in their app as well. Plus, they had a partnership with Janae Aiko, and I love her. So I just was like, duh. So I will link their website for you below so that you can just have something to refer to if you need it. But for sure, Calm has been an amazing part of my journey toward meditation and just mindfulness and being aware and being present and not so focused on the past and allowing it to creep into what I'm working on now and not trying to think too far ahead either. It causes anxiety. And so I think remaining mindful and present in the moment is going to be pivotal for you in remaining calm. Now, I know you're probably thinking, and just so y'all know, I have notes today. So if you see me if you're on YouTube watching, you see me doing this little DJ move, it's because I'm scrolling. Okay. And so this kind of leads to my next point. And you guys, if you know me, if you're a friend of mine, you know sometimes I could be very rattle-brained, a little bit all over the place, very hoardish-like. I love collecting pens and notebooks and bags. Like, I'm just looking around now. Like, sometimes there's just too much stuff around me. And so it causes chaos sometimes because if I'm looking for something and I can't find it, I'm like, okay, I need to clean up. And then I'll clean up and then it just becomes organized chaos, But anyway, this is when I started to implement a calming routine because I will rush everywhere. I will wake up maybe an hour before I'm supposed to go someplace, knowing it takes me an hour to get dressed, knowing that I still need to walk the dog, knowing that I still want to scroll a little bit and see what people are up to. And so I was putting all this unnecessary pressure on myself to rush throughout the day. And it caused me to have anxiety, and I wasn't calm. I was freaking out all the time because I either missed something or I wasn't prepared. And so for me, creating a calming routine can happen uh, anytime that works best for you. I think you should have a calming routine for both the morning and the evening. And so for me, in the morning, it's waking up a little bit slower. I set my alarm. I'm already slow to wake up anyway, but now I just lay there. This is usually when my meditation occurs. I just start to think about like how grateful I am for a new day. I start to think about what I'm letting go of in that moment and what I'm going to focus on for the day. So this is where my morning starts off slow, right? And it's dedicated time to me. No social media, no answering text messages unless I wake up with someone on my mind. So if you've gotten like one of those 6:30, 7 a.m. kind of text messages, you were on my mind. And so I'll wake up and like immediately do that so that, I don't forget throughout the day. And so that is what that morning starts off like for me. Then it's usually a cup of coffee. Now, I'm not a coffee aficionado by any means. I can go days without a coffee, and then there's some days where I'm like craving it. But for me, coffee is so warm and cozy, and I just love the feeling that I get like holding it. It's not even necessarily sometimes about the coffee. I used to always grab Dunkin' Donuts when I was a kid. It's also something that my father still does to this day when I go home to visit. He will wake up and early before everybody head over to Dunkin' Donuts, grabs 4 French vanillas, light and sweet with cream for everybody. And so I don't know, it just makes me feel like at home as well. And so I don't even sometimes finish the whole cup. It's just having those few sips and getting the sense of home that I love the most. And so for me, it's a cup of coffee. And if I don't have coffee, then maybe green tea or just like black tea. But here lately, it's been coffee. This is also the time that I take my vitamins. And I'm just going to pop these in here. If you're on YouTube, I want to show you. These are Black Girl vitamins. Now, this is just my second order, so this is why this is brand new. My first one is pretty much empty. But I take the hair, skin, and nails and the D3, which is your vitamin D. Y'all, they're gummies because I'm still a child at heart, so I'd rather chew my vitamin than have to swallow it. And so those are the two that I've been rocking with now. I'm heading into my second month, and I absolutely love them. The flavor is great. They're reasonably priced, and they are a 30-day supply, which I absolutely love. I do have a code for you if you want to try them out. You'll get 20% off your first order. So I'll link all of that below for you. But this is also the time where I'm popping vitamins, okay? I keep them all by the coffee machine so that I'm able to, stay consistent and not forget. But I do believe if you're not taking some kind of vitamin, preferably a multivitamin, which I have as well, you want to make sure that you're replacing any vitamins that you've lost or maybe that you're deficient in. I think it's super important. And it has helped me tremendously, not only mentally, but physically as well. This time in the morning is also meant for prayer and journaling for me. I always take some time to just write. And I am a free journaler, so I don't necessarily write with anything in mind. Sometimes it doesn't even make sense. I just write whatever I want. No punctuation. I don't worry about spelling things correctly. However it is in my mind is how I put it on paper. And I just get all my thoughts out. And then sometimes I will have a very, very tailored approach to journaling. So it'll be like very like, this is how I felt yesterday. I didn't like it. This is what I want to do. But I would say 90% of the time it's just my thoughts literally coming out on paper. Blah, 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 blah. Like all out on paper. And to do this, I also use pretty journals. And so most of the journals that I get are from Barnes & Noble. They are leather-bound journals that I absolutely love. They come out with some beautiful designs every year. They are on the pricier side, so if you're new to journaling, I have linked some really cute ones that I've also used off of Amazon for you, but I'll be sure to link the Barnes & Noble ones as well. And that's just my time in the morning. And I do the same thing, right? And it doesn't have to be extravagant, but it's my time before I start giving myself away to others throughout the day that is dedicated to me. And then my nighttime routine, I just try to wind down, whether it is a hot shower with my favorite body wash. Maybe it's simply playing a game on my phone. But here lately, I've been trying to wind down, turning off all devices an hour before bedtime and reading. Okay. Now, I am not consistent with this. I will tell you that right now. I still struggle sometimes with just falling asleep naturally. And so to try to mix things up, I will grab, like, I have a Kindle or just a book, and I will do my best to read for that hour. And I can tell you, every time I read, I fall asleep pretty peacefully. So if that's something that you haven't tried, I would definitely suggest it for you. And it just, I'm telling you, you find you a good book, and it doesn't have to be a deep book either, right? If you want to read a biography or an autobiography, for me, it's mysteries, suspense, and thriller novels all day long, which is kind of crazy that I would do that before bed, but you know. It's what I do. But yeah, you want to figure it out, right? I think what's important is not allowing anything to stop you. Consistency is key. And once you figure out what routine works best for you, stick to it. Okay? All right. Another tip is prioritizing self-care. Now, I personally believe that term self-care has been thrown around a lot lately, but it's also being depicted as a certain way. It's supposed to feel a certain way. It's portrayed a certain way. And I really want to reiterate the point that it is different for different people, right? So for some people, self-care is going fishing. For some people, it's cycling. For some, it might be going to the gym. For some, it's being creative and doing things on the internet, which you might find crazy, but I'm telling y'all, for me, it is so peaceful to be able to sit down and tell a story or create or connect with other people in this way. And for some people, it's literally sitting on the couch with a blanket and they are watching or playing a game that is, I call it mindless games, something where you don't even have to think about it. That is what self-care can look like. It could be baking pancakes, or maybe it's your mom's famous cookie recipe. I don't know. But I want you to totally debunk the fact that it has to look like a beautiful white bathroom and you're in a deep sunken bathtub with wine and a TV installed and you're in this beautiful foamy. That's fine if you have that and that's what you do. But for someone who that's not your reality right now, you got to figure out what your deep sunken bathtub looks like, right? It could be sitting in a park for 30 minutes and just people watching. I love people watching. It's a form of self-care to me, you know? And so I want you to tap into whatever it is that makes you happy. That's what self-care is. It's that little thing that lights you up when you think about it. That's self-care. I've taught myself, or I'm teaching myself, how to crochet. And while I'm still struggling to figure out how to do a slip knot, it's not a race, right? And I think that that's the best part about it. It's something that's forcing me to slow down. I'm challenging myself and teaching myself something new with no pressure. And it's been fun. Like, it's just fun, you know? I think sometimes as adults, as we have grown up, we've lost that childlike innocence of just having fun. And that is what self-care means to me. It's tapping back into that child that just was fearless and enjoyed doing whatever she wanted to do and just had fun doing it with no pressure. And that is the definition of self-care for me. So those are the things that I stick to doing. You good? You still with me so far? We're almost done, I promise. I'm just trying to make sure you set up for the week. That's all, okay? I brought this up a little bit earlier, but the one thing that I really love doing, if you've been a long-time listener of the show, you know I am a huge journaler, and practicing gratitude is extremely important to me. I will tell somebody thank you 15 times in a conversation if they do something that I just am overwhelmed by. I'm not shy with expressing gratitude in anything. I find joy in some of the smallest things ever. If you're ever around me, it could be like the other day, it was pouring raining outside and it had just started to slow down. So we were at this little point in the rain where it was just misting. The sun was trying to make its way back out, and I was getting out my sister's car and noticed that the raindrops had fallen absolutely perfectly on this little plant that we were parked next to. So I'm like getting out the car and I'm taking pictures, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I just love the way the raindrops looked. And I was, I know it looks crazy or whatever, but that's what practicing gratitude means to me. It's literally stopping in the middle of whatever you're doing and recognizing a moment that brings you joy or that is just beautiful to you. And I think that's what makes living beautiful, is that we're all going to experience it completely different. And we're all going to see the world through a different lens. And for me, it's just being gracious and happy that I get to experience this life. And so I also do this through journaling. As I shared with you before, am just someone who I brain dump in my journal. If you are new to journaling, I would highly suggest starting with just maybe writing down 3 things that you were grateful for from that day. So maybe ending your day with it. And what this does is it's going to force you to focus on remaining present in the moment. You're going to literally find yourself searching for things to be grateful for, because it's so easy for you to be able to point out things that are pissing you off or bothering you or driving you nuts or are an inconvenience to you. But it's in the moments where you're forcing yourself to just take a minute and look around and be appreciative of what's right in front of you that you train yourself to become more present and less attached to the outcome of things. I think that is something that has been super helpful for me as well. I am not attached to anything. And while things that come into my life, if they make their way out, I'm human, right? So I'm going to feel emotion. Sure, I'm going to feel sad. But I've also come to the place where I recognize that everyone, everything, every season, there's a time and a place for everything. And I recognize that if someone was in my life for a year, 10 years, 20, that I absolutely enjoyed the time that I had with them, or if something that I've lost is now taken or gone from me, I love the time that I was able to spend with it. But I'm not attached to anything or anyone. And that has liberated me in ways that I cannot explain. Like, you just have to do it yourself. But I feel free. I'm not attached to anything. And I recognize that no one owes me anything. And I don't own anything or anyone. And so I just enjoy the time that I have in that moment. And it allows me to remain present and grateful. So totally would want you to do that as well. We can't forget the power of exercise. And I know, for some of us, we don't even want to talk about exercise, right? I know me personally, I'm not a gym guru. I'm not a gym girly. I have a gym membership, but it is like pulling teeth to get me there. I don't know what it is. I'm like, right? But as I've gotten older, I recognize that just the simple act of moving my body can drastically change my mood. And sometimes it's not even about the physical health. It helps the mental and the emotional as well. And I'm talking about just getting out and going for a walk. I'm not even saying you have to go running a marathon, go kayaking, climbing cliffs. I'm saying just get out and walk. Go get you a little mini stepper off Amazon. I have one of those. That's been perfect. I'll do that while I'm watching TV. So there are other things that you can do, but I highly, highly, highly encourage you to just start moving your body. And I should even say the word exercise. I'm going to just say move your body. And if you can get outside and feel the sun while you're doing it, that's like adding a cherry on top. And so now for me, I use that time to just be grateful that I can move my body. I don't dread it. I'm just like, you know what? I'm glad that I have the ability to get up and go for a walk, even if it's for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. Whatever you can carve out for yourself, that's a form of self-care as well. And so I would highly encourage you to go for a walk. I've gotten into turning on Zumba classes on YouTube. As I mentioned, I do have a mini stepper, which is great too. You just sit there and you just like stepping along while you're watching TV. So just start to figure out what works best for you. I know when I was a member of LA Fitness, I used to love water aerobics. So that is another thing that I would do as well. So just keep all of this in mind. Again, no pressure. I'm not telling you, I'm not a gym girl, so I'm not forcing fitness on anyone, but I'm just telling you mentally and emotionally and of course physically you're going to reap the benefits and you won't regret it at all. Okay? Finally, I'm going to hit you with my last tip, and I think it's probably my most important one out of all of them, and that is reaching out for support. Now, I know that it can be very difficult, whether it's a friend or a family member, a therapist, just having someone around for you to be able to share your thoughts and feelings with is super, super important. But I also know it can be very difficult. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine last week, and I had shared a few things that I had been going through, and she was just shocked. She was like, I had no idea. Why didn't you tell me? And I said, honestly, it's because I know in my heart everybody's going through something. So I almost feel like a burden if I pick up the phone and I start dumping my problems on someone else when, I don't know what they're dealing with either. And so I want to share something with you that after I said what I said to her, it just hit me like a ton of bricks because I'm like, friends and family and those that consider themselves a part of your support network, people who want to see you win, people who want to see you grow, they love you through your challenges, they love you through your wins. They want to hear when you're not feeling. And most of the time, if they're super observant, they know that you're not where you want to be or how you're feeling is not who you are. So they want to make themselves available to you. And if you're somebody like that, I want you to comment, please, because I think people need to hear that they're not a burden. You're not a burden. You are not a burden. And I think for me, that is my thought, right? I never want to tell people what I'm going through because I don't want to feel like a burden. I never want anybody thinking that, oh God, is she leading up to asking me for something? Or, I just have all these thoughts in my head. That's probably something I need to work on personally, creating a narrative of what people are thinking or saying. It's not my responsibility to do, but, I'm human. So I'm still working on a few things, but I will tell you to find someone to talk to because you are not meant to do life alone. You are not meant to solve problems alone. And it can become very overwhelming and causing you not to remain calm. And especially when you have this idea that you have to do everything on your own, it's not going to be good for you. And so I just want you to get to a place where you realize you are not a burden, that you do absolutely have resources. You have people that truly love and care for you and people who want to hear from you. They want to know that you're doing well. And if you're not, and maybe they don't even have 100 of the answers that you need, 100% of the answers that you're seeking, but maybe they could point you in the right direction. Maybe they have a resource. Or who knows? Maybe they've gone through the exact same thing and can point you in a direction that can help you feel some relief. So I just want to repeat it again. You are not a burden. People want to hear from you. We want to see you win. And I want you to talk to someone. Okay? So there you have it, y'all. Those are my tips for staying calm in a hectic world. I hope you found these tips helpful. Just hearing myself say it, I'm like, okay, I need to keep doing this because I'm feeling really good today. And this week has been great. It's going to be great. And, I was able to get through the roughness of it all because, again, you got to put all this stuff in perspective. Is the same thing that's bothering you right now, is it something that you're going to be thinking about 5 minutes, 5 years, 5 months from now? If it's not, let it go, And that's just how I break it down. And if it's something that is on my heart, I keep waking up and maybe it's like something weighing on me, I will do whatever I need to do to address it. But if not, then I let it go and I keep it moving, So anyway, I'm going to leave it there for you. I hope you found this episode helpful. Next week, I'm going to be talking to you about starting your own podcast. I had a few questions from people come through. So I figured if they're asking, I'm sure somebody else is asking. I'm going to be dishing all the tea on everything that I do to create my podcast. Now, I will tell you, I am very simple. I don't have a ton of equipment. I have 4 pieces of equipment that I use consistently when filming this podcast. So if you're trying to have a podcast that looks like Drink Champs or Club Shay Shay, this probably won't be the tutorial for you. But if you want something, that you can get up and running within 2 to 3 days, then, I can have your podcast up and running for you. So anyway, that episode will be next week. So if that's something you're interested in, go on and subscribe, tell your friends so you don't miss it. It should be a very thorough, I'm calling it a masterclass. Like, I'm being very, very thorough in it. So it will be a little bit longer, but you'll find it so helpful for you to be able to start your very own podcast, because you have stories to tell. You want to hear your voice. And I'm hoping that this podcast motivates you to do just that. But before I let you go, I just want to remind you to maintain your joy. Don't let anybody steal it from you. Maintain your peace. And don't forget to be genuine. I'll see you right back here next week, y'all. Bye.